Exactly. Yeah.
One of the things that I've always said I'm going to write a paper about, but it's probably been done 1,000 times, is that people that have been sexually abused, as an example, will often find something empowering, like they become adult dancers, or they work in the porn industry, or they become lingerie models. They somehow find a way to take it back in a way. And when I think about something like body dysmorphia, I was curious. I don't know if you've ever interacted with the bodybuilding world or the modeling world, or is there any component of that you've seen or that you would recommend? Or if a client said to you, I'm going to do this thing to take it back, like what would you say?
So I'm going to say what my students hate when I say it depends. I think it because I have a little bit of it. Oh, this is like embarrassing for me too, but it shouldn't be embarrassing. But it's a little bit embarrassing.
It's just you and me and Cooper and however many thousand people that choose to listen to this.
Yeah, exactly.
So
right. So I did like a little short stint in pageantry circuits, and I think that that was really because I wanted to prove that I was good enough looking.
Okay.
Like if I could look like those girls, then, or if I could make the top 10, or if I could, actually win, oh my gosh, well then I must be okay looking enough,
okay.
Right?
The external validation, I guess, is
right. Exactly, which I think was extremely unhealthy for me. My first pageant was under the Miss USA system, and it was Miss Iowa USA, and I had lost a lot of weight for that because I felt like, well, I have to lose a lot of weight, right, to do this. And I'd actually had people there tell me that I needed to gain weight, like if I wanted to be viewed as, potential,
Okay.
And I think that pageants could be wonderful too, in that they can lift up someone's confidence. Like you have to have a lot of freaking bravery to walk out on that stage in stiletto, like, what's it called? Lucite heels, right? Which, ugh. But they're like crazy tall, and yeah. But you have to have a lot of bravery to do that in a swimsuit in front of hundreds of people. I don't know how I did it looking back, because now I think I'd be like, I don't know. But so if anything, I mean, I think like it, because I always still get nervous before a class, and that's like 20 to 25 students, but I still get like, I always joke with my students, like, don't get too close to me. I'm probably stinky. Because I just get a little nervous. Like it's public speaking essentially,
it means
right?
You care. It means you care. And I'll just a quick thing. I tell this people all the time. I was a professional actor, and I haven't, because of my daughter, I haven't done a lot of theater in the last 3 or 4 years. But people would ask me, do you still get nervous when you audition? And then half the time they'd say, well, surely you don't get nervous anymore. You were in New York. You did all this high level theater. And the answer is no, every single time. And if I don't, I know I don't want it. And then, now that it's not my living anymore, I don't audition.
Yeah.
So before I would talk for your class, even before shows like this, that's what I think that means. I think you care about your classes and your students and so forth. Please continue.
Yeah. So I would say for me, it was unhealthy because my reason for joining pageants was unhealthy. And I think there was a part of me that knew that at the time even, but that desire to, I don't know, to have that answer or to have that validation was too strong. And I won't lie too, I've always been a girly girl at heart. Like growing up, I've always been a girly girl. And so I always I like that idea of like doing hair and makeup and dressing pretty. And, so there's that too.
How'd you do in the pageants?
So my second year at Miss Iowa USA, I did get in top 10, which again, I think was not at the time, it was like this, like, oh my gosh, I've proven it to myself, right? But then when third year, you don't. Well, what does that mean?
Okay.
Or the girls, because the other part of it that can be so unhealthy is often with BDD, you're comparing yourself constantly,
right.
To other people. And that's another compulsion within it, right? Is you're constantly comparing your looks, your body, everything to someone else. And which is not fair to do to yourself. So then there's that like, I didn't make it this time. What's wrong with me this year? Or these other people that are in it now, they must be better, or what, when it's totally subjective, and it's, yeah. So I would say, what is the person's reasoning behind it?
Okay.
And maybe really exploring with them, how do they think that, whether it be bodybuilding or, so there's a subset actually of body dysmorphia called muscle dysphoria.
Okay.
Or muscle dysmorphia. And it's primarily just seen in men, but of course I'm sure there's going to be women out there who struggle with it too. And but it's the idea that the individual feels like they are too small, too slight, not muscular enough. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes these men, sometimes they do get into bodybuilding. They could be the guy who goes to the gym multiple times a day and will be so distraught if he misses his workout, will be so distraught if he ate something that he shouldn't, and they just bulk up and bulk up and bulk up and get bigger and bigger, but it's never enough.
Mm-hmm.
They're never big enough. And of course there's always the fear of steroid abuse and things like that.
Yeah.
But I could see that being like, if that were something my client was struggling with, that entering that might not be healthy at all.
So, it depends is a fine answer. And I always tell people, I'm a scientist. I have a hard time saying no when they're like, is it possible that it caused this really weird side effect? And I have to go, I can't say no.
Right.
But it's really, really, really unlikely.